The Enchanted Garden, Goldfeather Gardener Series, Book 1, written by Erin Greneaux. Chasing the Butterfly, Chapter 1. Bright sunlight fell in warm patches on the fresh summer grass. The birds twittered in the trees, and the breeze rustled the tall daisy stems in the garden. Puffy white clouds in the shape of panda bears and ice cream cones floated across the sky. Two sisters, Maya and Everly, were pretending to be explorers hiking through the tropical jungle of their backyard. With school over until the fall, they were ready to soak in every adventure of the break. At the moment, they were in search of undiscovered butterfly species. "There's one," Everly said to her older sister. She pointed to a bright lavender butterfly on the leaf of a large azalea bush. "See if you can catch it on your finger." Maya reached a finger towards it, but the butterfly darted behind the ruffled pink flowers at the back of the bush. Both girls dropped to the ground and crawled under the leaves, following the butterfly's dancing wings. Behind the bush stood the fence that lined their backyard. As the girls reached it, they noticed that one of the fence's boards had come loose at the bottom. Maya pushed the board aside, leaving a small opening. Before she could peek through, the butterfly slipped out of the hole and 2 gold feathers fluttered to the ground. "We lost it!" Maya cried. "And it was so gorgeous, too. I don't think I've ever seen a butterfly that color before." "Look at this," Everly said, picking up one feather. "I think the butterfly dropped them." "Don't be ridiculous," Maya said, picking up the other feather and twirling it between her fingers. "Butterflies can't carry feathers." She put the feather into her pocket. "I wish we could follow that butterfly." "Maybe we can," Everly smiled as she pocketed her own feather. She pushed the loose fence board over as far as she could, creating a larger hole. Everly wiggled through the small opening. "I made it," she called to Maya. "Can you fit?" "I can try." Maya put one foot through, then her leg and her body, and turned her head sideways to squeeze through the tiny space. Their house was the last on the street. Through the fence, the girls discovered a dense forest of trees and bushes. Where had the butterfly gone? A flash of lavender disappeared into the woods. "There it is," Maya pointed. The girls dashed after the winged creature as it zigzagged through the trees. Instead of fluttering like a normal butterfly, it darted away from them. The sisters didn't give up the chase. Watching the butterfly instead of where they were stepping, both girls tripped over a fallen log. They fell forward onto their hands and knees. When they looked up, they saw a tall stone wall in front of them, overgrown with vines. "I wonder why there is a wall in the middle of a forest," Everly said. Maya reached out and touched the cool stones. A burst of energy shot through her fingers, and Maya pulled her tingly hand back in surprise. "Oh, what is it?" Everly asked. "I don't know. When I touched the wall, it's almost like it knew me," Maya said. "What knew you? The wall?" Everly raised her eyebrows and put a hand to Maya's forehead as if checking for a fever. Maya swatted her hand away. "I know it sounds crazy, but you try it." Everly stretched her fingers toward the wall and touched the stones. She jerked her hand back in shock. "See?" Maya said. Everly narrowed her eyes at the wall. "I think it said my name, but not out loud. I heard it inside my head." Maya nodded. "Let's find a way over." The girls tried to climb up the wall, but none of the stones stuck out far enough for them to get a good grip. They couldn't use the top of the wall to pull themselves up because it was too high to reach. Maya tried climbing a nearby tree, but it was too far from the wall, and it still didn't get her high enough to see over to the other side. "I guess we'll have to go around," she said. The girls walked along the wall for a while until they arrived at a metal gate. A large rusty latch held the gate shut, and vines draped across the front. Maya pushed the vines aside and reached for the latch. "Wait!" Everly put a hand on Maya's arm. "Are you sure we should go in there?" Maya hesitated and stepped back. "Don't you want to know what's on the other side?" Instead of answering, Everly jumped in front of her sister. She grabbed the latch and pushed hard until the gate moved with a groan. "You said that just so you could go first," Maya cried. "Last one through is a rotten egg," Everly laughed. "Not fair," Maya said with a huff as she rushed through the gate after her sister, who disappeared into an overgrown hedge. Maya pushed her way through the dense leaves and ran right into Everly, who stopped, frozen in surprise. Chapter 2, The Garden Fairy. Maya gazed at the most stunning garden either of the girls had ever seen. All around were vegetable plants, small fruit trees, and bushes dripping with colorful bunches of blooms. Groups of plants stretched out in every direction, bursting with life and color. No forest trees grew in this section, and the sunlight shone through warm on their faces. They could hear the water of a stream trickling nearby. Ahead, they could see an enormous fountain. The mist from the water cascading down the fountain caught the sunlight, creating a rainbow over the entire garden. "Wow!" the girls gasped together. It's so incredible, Everly sighed as she breathed in the thick scent of flowers. I wonder who it belongs to, Maya said, scanning for another person. Someone must work hard on this garden because everything is perfect. The girls wandered deeper into the garden, careful to step along the stone pathway to avoid crushing the plants. I don't recognize any of these plants, Maya remarked as she gazed at a large blue flower with petals that spun like the blades of a fan in the breeze. Even the vegetables and fruits looked strange. Everly studied a vine that had blue heart-shaped berries hanging from it. Have you ever seen anything like this? Everly asked. Maya shook her head. Look, there's the butterfly, she said, pointing deeper into the garden. She had almost forgotten all about it. The girls crept towards the insect, careful not to scare it away. It was resting on a large lavender flower, where it camouflaged perfectly. Instead of reaching out to catch the butterfly, Maya and Everly leaned forward to get a closer look. The wings of the butterfly were large and shimmering, reflecting the sunlight with dazzling sparkles. The small purple body of the butterfly had a strange shape. It had two long extensions at the back that looked like legs. The wings of the butterfly folded down and the body sat up, revealing a tall, smiling face. It wasn't a butterfly at all. A fairy, the girls cried together. The fairy covered her mouth and giggled at the girls' surprise. You thought I was a butterfly, didn't you? The girls nodded, unable to speak. The fairy's skin was a deep purple and her hair was bright yellow. She wore a simple lavender dress and slippers, which shimmered in the sun like her wings. Well, I'm pleased to meet you. My name is Clara, the fairy introduced herself. But this is impossible, Maya said. Fairies don't exist. Maybe not in your backyard, Clara said, but here in the Enchanted Garden, we certainly do exist. The Enchanted Garden? Everly asked. Of course, this is the Enchanted Garden, the fairy waved a hand at the surrounding plants. No wonder we didn't recognize any of the plants. Are they enchanted too? Maya inspected a strange plant with clear leaves that looked like pieces of glass. Yes, you won't find any ordinary plants growing here. Each one is special, Clara said. This is incredible. Who does the garden belong to? Everly asked. The Enchanted Gardener, of course, the fairy said in surprise. You haven't heard of him? The girls shook their heads. How have we never seen this garden before? Maya asked. Clara paused and thought for a moment. It would surprise you how many people don't notice something extraordinary right under their noses. She tapped each little girl on the nose with her tiny hand as she said this. Her touch felt like a single ticklish snowflake landing on their skin, and the sisters laughed. Is the gardener here? Everly asked. Not right now. He should be back soon, though, Clara answered. He must be very special to create such a wonderful garden, Maya said, marveling at the unique plants. Oh, yes, Clara said. He is so amazing. As a garden fairy, I've been helping him take care of the garden for ages. I am in charge of taking care of all the plants. It is a big job for one little fairy. Speaking of big jobs, I should get back to work. Chapter 3. The Gardener. The outline of a bird grew larger and larger as it approached them. With a whoosh of flapping wings, an enormous golden eagle eased down onto the ground next to them. The bird was tall and majestic, his beautiful feathers shining in the sunlight. The eagle was breathtaking, and his enormous size made the girls huddle a little closer together. His eyes were bright yellow with dark centers and a friendly sparkle. You're back, the fairy danced with delight. Let me introduce you to two new friends. This is Maya and Everly. They have offered to help in the garden. I'm so glad you have found the garden, and we would love your help, the eagle smiled at them. I created all of it, especially for you. The gardener's voice was smooth and clear. It almost seemed like the girls were hearing him from inside their chests rather than with their ears. The girls weren't sure what he meant, but they managed to smile. Maya gave a small wave, nervous to be talking to an eagle. Not just any eagle either. This eagle was taller than she was, with razor-sharp talons and a beak strong enough to snap a branch in half. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she was also curious. She had to learn more about this garden and the eagle who planted it. How are the plants coming along? The gardener asked Clara. Growing beautifully, the fairy said. Let me look. The girls watched as the gardener strolled among the plants. He stopped and inspected each one, reaching out his wing to touch the wings of one and bending his beak down to smell the flower of another. Sometimes he plucked off a branch and tossed it aside. Other times he scratched a weed out of the soil with his sharp talons. Even though there were so many plants, he gave special attention to each one. He stopped at one plant that was turning brown and losing its leaves. He reached his beak down to his feathery chest and plucked out one small golden feather. Scratching a small hole in the dirt beside the plant, he placed the feather in the hole and covered it back up. patting the dirt down with his foot. While he did this, the girls could see his beak moving, but they couldn't hear his words. "What is he doing?" Maya asked. "He is caring for the plants," Clara said. "He knows what each one needs." "But why is he pulling out his feathers and burying them?" Everly questioned. "Ah, that is why he is the best one to care for the plants. His golden feathers have incredible powers. They feed the plants the nutrients they need to grow strong. His feathers can heal a plant that is sick or dead," Clara explained. "Doesn't it hurt him to pull out his feathers?" Maya asked. "Of course, but he does it anyway. He loves the garden too much to not help in every way he can." "What is he saying when he buries the feathers?" Everly asked. "He is calling the plants by their secret name," Clara said. "He is the only one who knows their true names." Maya wondered if she had a secret name. Remembering how it had seemed like the wall had known her when she touched it, she imagined it would be similar for the garden to say her secret name. The girls helped Clara throughout the day. The fairy showed them all kinds of amazing plants. One of them had flowers that looked like tiny teacups on saucers. Inside of the cups were little puddles of sweet nectar. "You can eat anything in the garden," Clara told them with pride, "and I mean anything. The flowers, fruits, vegetables, leaves, and sticks. You can even eat the rocks and dirt, although I don't recommend it." The fairy gave a little laugh. The girls each picked a tiny teacup flower and sipped the nectar from inside. It tasted like melted ice cream, sweet and smooth. Everything within the stone walls is safe because of the gardener. However, it is very important that you do not eat anything outside the garden wall. The forest is full of poisonous plants and all kinds of danger, the fairy warned them. "Like what?" Everly asked. "That's a lesson for another day. Just make sure you keep to the path when you're in the forest and don't stop along the way." "We promise," Maya said. And after what seemed like only a few minutes, the sun was setting and it was time for the girls to go home. Since they had been snacking in the garden all day, the girls weren't hungry at all. Maya wanted to stay in the garden forever, but she knew their parents would worry if they didn't head home. The gardener was deep in the garden, so the girls didn't get to say goodbye. "Can we come back tomorrow?" Everly asked, unable to hide her disappointment. "Of course," Clara said. "You are welcome to come any time." "Really? Great! We'll see you tomorrow." They waved as they left the Enchanted Garden. The girls kept their promise to stay on the path as they hurried home through the dark woods. They slipped back through the fence just as their mother was calling them in for dinner. Chapter 4, The Hummingbird. The girls returned to the garden every day that week. They listened to the gardener as he taught them about the many plants and helped Clara care for each one. They laughed, breathed in the scent of the flowers, and tasted as many plants as they could. One morning, as soon as the girls had eaten their breakfast, they rushed into the backyard, ducked under a azalea bush, and squeezed through the hole in the fence. The woods were bright and inviting, with butterflies dancing above the flowering bushes and the sunlight shining through the branches overhead. The girls stopped to look at a bright blue mushroom with orange speckles and a furry inchworm climbing on a leaf. Taking a turn on the path, Maya stopped in amazement. "Look, Everly," she said. Thousands of purple berries covered a bush beside the path. Each berry had the shape of a sparkling diamond. The slanted sides of the berries reflected the light of the sun, making purple beams of light shine on the leaves and branches of the surrounding trees. The forest looked like it was bursting with purple fireworks. "Wow," Everly said. "This is incredible. Look at these berries. I wonder what they taste like," Maya wondered. "I bet they taste like candy," Everly said. Maya couldn't wait to try one, but she remembered Clara's warning not to eat anything outside the garden wall. "You should try one," Maya told her sister, "but Clara told us not to eat anything from the forest." "Remember," Everly replied. "That is excellent advice," a high-pitched voice agreed. "Who said that?" Maya asked. The girls looked around but didn't see anyone. "Up here," the voice said with a tiny giggle. The girls looked in the voice's direction, and fleeting just above their heads was the smallest, most beautiful hummingbird they had ever seen. The hummingbird's feathers were so small and glossy that they almost looked like shimmering fish scales covering her tiny body. While the feathers on her stomach were a shiny teal color, her wings were a mixture of pink and purple, glinting in the light filtering through the trees. There was a small peach flower tucked into the feathers on the side of her head that made the whole forest smell like honey. "Wow," the girls said together. "You're the most beautiful hummingbird I've ever seen," Maya said. "Why, thank you. You are too kind." She blushed with a sweet smile, her voice high and squeaky. "Welcome to the forest. My name is Nat." "Nice to meet you, Nat," Everly said. "I'm Everly, and this is my older sister, Maya. I am so glad that you are visiting the forest today." "Aren't those berries lovely?" Nat asked. They are incredible, Maya agreed. Do they taste as delicious as they look? Even better, Nat said, although I prefer nectar myself. I wish we could eat some, but a friend of ours told us not to, Everly explained. Yes, that is wonderful advice to use in the forest. It is important to be careful about what you eat here. There are many poisonous plants, Nat nodded, her long beak bobbing up and down. You don't have to worry about this one, though. We don't? Maya asked, hoping to eat the berries. No, this one is safe, Nat assured them, hovering in the air and then darting back and forth. This plant comes from the Enchanted Garden. A bird dropped a seed here, and now we have enchanted plant growing in the middle of the woods. Really? Everly asked. Absolutely, Nat nodded with a smile. It has been so nice meeting the two of you. I wish I could stay and chat longer, but I am on my way to visit a friend. I hope you have a pleasant day. Goodbye, the girls called as the hummingbird zipped away. The girls watched the hummingbird's flashing wings disappear in the trees before turning back to the berries. Do you think it's true that it's a garden plant? Everly asked, leaning toward the dazzling fruit on the bush. I don't know, she said. Maya wanted to eat the berry more than anything, but she also didn't want to get into trouble. She reached out and picked one sparkling berry and held it up. The light reflected off the smooth sides, making the purple beams dance on the ground at her feet. She flashed her sister a playful grin. Last one to eat a berry is a rotten egg. Maya opened her mouth wide as if to eat the berry, but Everly snatched it out of her hand. Everly shoved the fruit into her mouth and it melted into a sweet juice on her tongue.